Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another online conference organized by Energynomics. This time, regional approach with Brussels in focus is the second edition of such a conference under the regional approach series umbrella that we are organizing. And we are very happy to have with us a few very qualified speakers to address today the issue of energy transition. Of course, we'll talk mostly about from the gas perspective, as you saw from the agenda published online. But as you already know, at the moment, gas is also open to renewables as to other new technologies that might help the energy industry to flourish in the next decades. I welcome the speakers today, and I am very thankful for having them with us today. I say good morning and thank you for being with us to Mr. Alain Schodts, to Mr. Hans Korteweg from COGEN, to Mr. Bunis, Mr. Florin Frunza, Mr. Shahrad Adjili, and Mrs. Mihaela from Romgaz. I will have the opportunity to say a few words about each of them in a minute. But for now, I will give the floor to Mr. Bunis to say a few words from in behalf of CAROMB, one of the organizations that accepted our invitation to co-organize this event. Please, Mr. Bunis. Please open the microphone.
Is active to me.
Yes,
now?
We can hear you now, please.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So, my name is Bunis. I'm now sharing my screen with you.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, and then I'm doing that full screen. Not exactly.
Okay,
why
let's try
everything?
Again.
Okay, I'm doing that just again. Now you can see something. Not yet.
Just your image, not the presentation.
You can see my presentation now. Or not?
No.
Not yet. I'm sorry. If you give me the right again to share it. Okay, now should be okay.
Yes, it's visible now, please.
Now it's okay, I hope.
Yes.
Good. And then just to make full screen. So CAROMB is the Romanian-Belgian business club that is based in Brussels, and we are an open business network created for investors, entrepreneurs, and senior officials. They are doing and willing to do business between Romania and Belgium. So our mission is, of course, to increase and enforce the Romanian-Belgian business environment, to aggregate the business community, to share info and knowledge. Our main goal is to attract new potential investors in Romania. That is straightforward, and that's why we are here, to facilitate all participants of this conference to increase their business with Romania and to increase their investment possible and running in Romania. We, of course, have a story of spreading among us the success story about Belgian investments in Romania. If you can see in my background is one of our meetings with one of the leading real estate investors, Belgian investors in Romania. Several in Bucharest are made by them, and they have currently another 2 big investments. What we offer is we offer a unique opportunity for networking and peer-to-peer exchange ideas, new ideas or just improvement. And of course, best practices in business and economics development between Romania and Belgium. If you are a member of CAROMB, that I hope one day you will be, the sooner the better, is we connect your potential business with the real opportunities on the market, and we advise, we assist you on legal, tax issues, financial investment, all this practical part. We are also doing economic forums in Belgium, small group economic missions in Romania, business to business, only that, and business networking events. Of course, we will increase your visibility if you are CAROMB members through our media where we have access. We are reliable, we are friendly, we are effective. So join us for the good business investments and for good business partnership between Belgium and Romania. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bunis, for your contribution to organizing this event and also for this opening speech. I will just add a few words from our part as organizers in respect with what we expect with this event today. I said earlier that we started from the idea that regional approach is meant to bring together expertise, companies, and people from the two cities, Bucharest, Brussels, respectively. But Brussels is a special case in Europe because it's not only the capital of the Kingdom of Belgium, but it's also the capital of Europe. And most of the issues that we will address today with our invited guest will have something to do with politics in Brussels, with the policies that are adopted or ready to be adopted in Brussels. So we are speaking about energy transition and what these various types of approach that the European institutions are cooking at the moment are going to influence the businesses in the energy sector in Romania, but also in the western part of Europe. So I will give now the floor to Mr. Hans Korteweg, Managing Director of COGEN Europe, for a brief introduction in some of the most pressing, most important topics at the moment in his perspective. And before that, I only add one thing. There are almost 140 people watching us using the My Connector platform. They have the opportunity to address questions to our guests. So please, I encourage you to use the Q&A box in the My Connector platform and to send us some questions. I will select a few of them, maybe most of them, and I will address our guest today. So please, Mr. Korteweg, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. If you bear with me one moment, I will load the full version of my PowerPoint. There you go. Yes, so yes, okay. Everything is perfect. Excellent. So good morning again to everyone. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the kind invitation to address everyone. I'm glad to see so many people are online and following today's session. So as mentioned, my name is Hans Korteweg, and I'm the Managing Director at COGEN Europe. I'll tell you a little bit about our organization, also explain cogeneration as a technology, provide an overview of cogeneration or CHP in Europe today. I'll give you a few high-level results from our recent cogeneration snapshot survey over the last 2 years. I'll give you a vision of our future where we see CHP going in Europe today, the medium, and then the long term, and then a very sneak peek at the final result of a large study that we commissioned to look at the role of CHP in Europe in 2050. And in fact, it's an event that's taking place this afternoon, the full public launch. So a little bit about COGEN Europe, our mission. We're the cross-sectoral voice of the cogeneration industry. We represent our members' views vis-a-vis the EU, in particular the European Commission, the European Parliament, and also the member states via their permanent representations. And we do so by providing robust evidence base to demonstrate our views. We are as strong as our members, so we use the expertise of our membership. And as an organization working in Brussels, and due to the nature of cogeneration, the technology, we work with many different organizations in Europe, may it be the gas industry, the bioenergy industry, the electricity industry, the heating industry. We all work together because many of our issues are their issues as well. Very quickly, our members, we're a hybrid organization. We represent national associations as well as corporate members. So we have 11 different national associations. Unfortunately, we don't have COGEN Romania yet as a member, but hopefully that will change in the future. We have over 60 different corporate members. So we have the manufacturers, the OEMs, and I think that'll be also important to the discussion today in terms of the technologies that we have today and tomorrow. And I believe you will hear later on from Kawasaki in terms of what they have for technologies for today and tomorrow in terms of the transition from natural gas to other decarbonized gases. We represent the utilities and the ESCOs, so people who use the technology, as well as the end users. And end users, I mean, food and drink industry, alumina industry, and so forth. So we represent the whole value chain, which is unique for an organization such as COGEN Europe. So what is cogeneration? It's a very complicated technology, but in its simplicity, you have one single input and you have two outputs. So you produce heat and electricity simultaneously. And by doing so, you transform up to and beyond 90% of the energy into useful heat and electricity for factories, offices, buildings, and homes. And just to make a point, all energy sources, cogeneration as a technology is agnostic. It runs on whatever you feed it. So today it's natural gas, it's coal, it's increasingly renewable, and I'll get to that on a later slide, but it's whatever you put in it will feed it, and you will have very high efficient energy use, producing both heat and electricity. Here's just another way of demonstrating it. So cogeneration is unique in the sense that you utilize the most of your fuel. Today, there's a lot of fuels. In the future, especially decarbonized fuels, especially looking at 2050, we're going to have less of it, let's say, so we should transform it in the most efficient possible way. And we see cogeneration as being one of those solutions. So the benefits of cogeneration, you cut emissions, you lower energy costs, you integrate renewable energy. Cogeneration does not compete with renewable energy, in particular wind and solar, but actually allows it to grow on the market and helps integrate further renewable energy. Saves energy is a key point, primary energy savings. It's also about empowering citizens and businesses. The technology also provides flexibility. And because of its decentralized nature, it also avoids costly grid reinforcements. So quickly, an overview of CHP in Europe today. There's approximately 120 gigawatts of highly efficient CHP installed as of 2018. Why am I talking about 2018? Well, these are the latest figures actually published just a few weeks ago from Eurostat. There is a slight lag in terms of what is publicly available via the European institutions. So CHP represents, and the trend hasn't really changed too much from 2012, around 11% of total electricity and about 18% of heat in the EU 27 plus the UK. And of course, there's the potential to double that by 2030. I'll get to that point further on. CHP by country in 2018. Here's a snapshot of all the different countries that are utilizing CHP. You have countries like Germany, one of the largest users of CHP, but still represent a small share of the overall energy production. And then you have countries like Latvia, where CHP is a very large share. So every country is different. Every country has its own geographical considerations, resources availability, environments, and so forth, as well as policies. EU policies have some influence. The European Green Deal, the Clean Energy Package, all of these things have an influence on the uptake and the continuing utilization of CHP in Europe. I alluded to the fuel mix at the beginning. So yeah, cogeneration is fuel agnostic, but today a large portion of that is actually run on natural gas, about 40%. There is a rapid increase in use of renewables, almost tripling in the last decade, from 13% to 30% over the past 10 years. It's mainly biomass, but there's an increasing share of biogas and waste energy, and we see that segment continuing to increase. So CHP is becoming increasingly renewable, and in the future, the whole discussion about decarbonized gases, obviously that will have an influence on the fuel mix. What is clear is there is a steady decline in fossil fuels, solid fossil fuels used in CHP, and I guess those countries that still use coal, there's some low-hanging fruits there, especially in Central Eastern Europe, where you can switch from coal to natural gas and then progressively switch from natural gas to decarbonized gases over the next 10, 15, 20 years. Now looking at the high-level results of our snapshot survey that was published just a few weeks ago. Here is an overview of the CHP market developments in Europe over the last couple of years. To your left, you have the installed capacity of CHP, and to your right, you have the CHP generated electricity. You have a mixed bag of results so far. What is clear that there's CHP growth in countries that account for about half of this installed capacity. And then there's diverging capacity and generation trends for countries like Denmark, Spain, France, and the UK. Important for CHP as well is the support available, be it a local, regional, federal, or even pan-European level. There is support available in many different countries, but in some cases it's insufficient. In 40% of the markets, policy framework is considered unfavorable, and support phased out or significantly reduced. You see that in countries like Denmark, France, and the UK. Only a few of the national climate and energy plans, the NECPs, adequately assess CHP, including countries like the Czech Republic, Slovenia, Turkey, and Italy. In terms of the outlook for CHP, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, there is some uncertainty for many of the different markets over the next 5 years. And that, of course, really depends on what sort of policy legislation we implement today. Everyone is talking about the European Green Deal. There are many different elements to that. A lot of different strategies have been published by the European Commission, the industrial strategy, renovation strategy, hydrogen strategy, and these are all very well, but the next big important step is the revision of the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Renewable Energy Directive, and of course the midterm and long-term targets for greenhouse gas emission reductions, but energy efficiency and renewables. This is all going to be discussed next year and the years to come in terms of establishing what the policy framework will look like between 2020 and 2030, and also already looking towards 2050, moving towards the political aspiration in Europe to be net carbon neutral by 2050. To stress, most of the growth is actually expected in the gas-based CHP and also on the industrial side. That's where we see the most growth over the next 5 years. Here are different trends by segments. Of course, there is a growth in the renewable side, natural gas side across the EU, and then depending on the different segments, you have district heating and cooling, industrial, commercial. You have different results depending on what countries. I'm not going to go to each one of them individually, but here is a very quick snapshot of those results. The key factors impacting CHP at a national level include things like energy regulatory barriers. You find that in Italy and Germany. And something that affects many markets is the low wholesale spark spread and insufficient support. Policy instability, I think this is important for everyone. And as we see more and more now, diminishing political support for natural gas. Which is obviously a challenge when many CHP units are currently running on natural gas, but it's not the end of the road for natural gas in terms of CHP. There are technologies in place today and tomorrow that will address that. On the opportunity side, in some markets you still have high on-site spark spreads, Germany, Belgium, Italy, and you have a high uptake of variable renewable coupled with adequacy issues, so in Denmark. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's obviously a push to phase out solid fossil fuels, so coal in Germany, and then also phasing out of nuclear power also presents opportunities for CHP in Europe. Quickly, the vision for the future for COGEN Europe, with its members, we developed a new vision just a few years ago, where we as a sector are committed to creating a resilient, decentralized, carbon neutral energy system by 2050, where we see cogeneration as its backbone. CHP cogeneration is about putting energy consumers at the center. And here you have actually iconic buildings that use CHP. The Bundestag in Berlin, the European Commission headquarters uses CHP, the European Parliament uses CHP, the European Council building uses CHP. Those are important buildings, but of course we still also have households, hospitals, you see district heating, and of course very important European industry in terms of maintaining its competitiveness whilst also reducing its environmental impact. So that's why we see cogeneration being a key integrator of all of these different things in terms of tying together electricity, heat, thermal systems, gases, liquid fuels, bringing together households, cities, industry, and agriculture. And this is already happening today and will continue to be more important as we move into the future. As I mentioned today, CHP is at 11% electricity and 15% of heat. And looking at the 2020 targets, CHP contributes up to 21% of the EU CO2 reduction target and 14% of the EU's energy efficiency target. The potential has already been extrapolated in different studies. We can already see a doubling of CHP electricity and increase from 15 to 25% in terms of heat in Europe, with the right policies in place, of course. And already in terms of what was agreed in the clean energy package and those targets, CHP can contribute up to 23% of the EU's CO2 reduction target and 18% of the EU's energy efficiency target. And then looking to the future, to 2050, and this was an aspiration that we developed 2 years ago, we see we can envision the capacity of cogeneration doubling in the EU's energy mix, as long as we prioritize cogeneration for all thermally generated electricity and heat, so we can avoid wasting valuable energy, especially in the future. To close things off, one final slide, and this is a sneak peek of the results that will actually be formally and publicly presented this afternoon at one of COGEN Europe's Power and Heat Boost webinars between 1:30 and 3. We will present the results with our consultants on a very robust and extensive study looking at the role of CHP in a carbon neutral energy system in 2050. So here is just a very quick overview of the multiple benefits CHP can provide in 2050. On an annual basis after 2050, we're talking about between 4 and 8 billion in savings in terms of the energy system. In terms of primary energy savings, significant savings between 150 and 220 terawatt hours. The remaining CO2 that is in play in 2050, CHP can actually reduce that further by 20%. In terms of the share of total electricity, we see CHP with the right policies in place, providing anywhere between 13 to 16% of total electricity and between 30 and 36% of flexibly generated power at times when the wind and sun are not available to cover these peak demands. And then in terms of total heat, we see CHP delivering anywhere between 19 and 20% of total heat, and between 52 and 100% of all thermal heat for buildings, industry, and district heating. So this is just a snapshot. If you want to know more, attend the webinar this afternoon. It will also be made available in recording with, of course, the final results available on our website. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to hearing from the other speakers, and if there are any questions, I would be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Korteweg, for your presentation, for your insight on the future of using gas in CHP installations during the next decades. We are now all on video, all the speakers for the session that we propose in a few minutes. If there are any questions from your part, Mr. Frunza, Mrs. Stadler, Mr. Adjili, for Mr. Korteweg, please be ready to shoot. I have one question for Mr. Korteweg at the moment. How do you personally see this, what seems to be very strong push in limitation of using gas for the next decades? At the same time, we're having more CHP gas-fired seems to be a must in order to move forward the renovation wave, for example.
Well, it's quite a contentious topic. There are competing narratives in Brussels regarding electrons versus molecules, so to speak. There is a very strong push towards electrification. There have been studies, even by the electricity sector, that they can electrify up to 65%, but there's still a large share that cannot be electrified, in particular heat and industrial heat, and that's where I think molecules come into place. Today and for the next 10, 15 years, I don't see a strong shift away from natural gas. Obviously, things are being put into place that will allow the sector to decarbonize. There's a lot of discussion about the role of hydrogen, the role of other decarbonized gases, power to X, biogases. These all have a role to play, but it's not going to happen overnight. So gas will continue to be an important commodity to be used. And honestly, if there is a lot of contention against natural gas, we can certainly advocate that you use it in the most efficient possible way today to minimize the environmental impact and to utilize the energy as efficiently as possible, up to 90-95% in cogeneration. As I mentioned, the technology itself is agnostic, neutral, but there's obviously a strong trend towards becoming increasingly renewable in the decades to come. But I think natural gas has a role to play. I mentioned it in the transition, and especially in Central Eastern Europe, where you have a lot of coal still being used. In countries like in Poland, I would call it a low-hanging fruit. You can't just phase out coal and then rely on wind and solar. You need some base load, and you need to produce heat in the most efficient possible way. And there's certainly a role for gas and molecules. It's not molecules versus electrons. It's how the two of the technologies work together in an integrated energy system. And that's also very important to find how all those different pieces come together.
Okay, thank you for your answer. If there are any questions from your part, please, this is the moment, Mrs. Toader or Mr. Frunza. Now, no? Okay, I have another question, and it is more like a clarifying question. Please tell us a little bit more about how COGEN is positioning towards the future modernization fund at the moment when there is a huge discussion in Brussels, not only the general budget for the EU for the next period,
The
but also
recovery
on
fund.
this. Yes, yes.
Well, that's still under discussion. In fact, we're following it quite closely. We're concerned that cogeneration is not being recognized for its benefits in terms of its role to support the continued use of natural gas today, but also its potential in the future in terms of reaching those goals under the European Green Deal. Yeah, I think yesterday and today there are supposed to be votes in the European Parliament, in the Budget and Economic Committee, and of course there are discussions also taking place at a member state level. So there's still a lot to be done, let's say, from an advocacy perspective. We're concerned that our technology is somehow being marginalized, not being recognized for its contribution and its potential contribution in the future. Certainly, we need to see gas recognized as a transitional fuel. We can't just turn it off tomorrow. There's certainly a role to play there. And of course, if you have to use natural gas, then we see it necessary to do so if and when needed with cogeneration. It's a hot topic.
Yes, yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Korteweg, for being here with us, and especially because it is a hot topic. It is one of the reasons that we approach this way the larger concept of energy transition. There are so many angles that we can discuss about these ideas. Thank you very much, and good luck with the conference you scheduled these days in a few hours. Thank you for the insight, and keep in touch with for the latest information from your association. I will now pass the microphone to Mrs. Mihaela Toader, representing Romgaz, the largest gas producer in Romania, Director of Strategy, International Relations, European Funds Department at Romgaz. Please, Mrs. Toader, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, and I will take it from where Hans already left it, and for us, we are on the same page. And yes, it is a hot topic, especially for us. We are deeply involved and the main actor in this, and we are now trying to adjust our development strategy in order to respond to these political policy changes that are now happening in Brussels these days. But also to the economic situation that everybody is facing due to the pandemics, that it's still undergoing, and probably the next 2 years will be under this umbrella. So for us, it's very important to see how the policy will be built. Not only with the recovery plan, we also have modernization fund. We also have the cohesion policy, which for Romania it's an enormous investment facility, let's say, that should help us in improving our competitiveness. And we are now screening everything to see where our place will be, because it is very difficult. We only have 2 months until the new financial exercise will start once again. We have the same history that happened in 2014. Neither the budget nor the regulation were adopted in 2000 before the new financial exercise for the next 7 years started. So a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knew pretty much how to build the project that would be eligible, and this triggered a lot of delays low absorption of non-reimbursable, let's say, amounts, not only the cohesion policy, but also other instruments, and a lot of mistrust, let's say, somehow. We see the situation happening again. Unfortunately, for the modernization fund, that should be, let's say, our main financial instrument used in the transition to a cleaner economy. It's not ready. The delegated act was just adopted silently in July, and the member states are now trying to catch up and prepare their national legislation in order to implement that. And this is, for us, extremely worrying. For the cohesion policy, we know that we have some compromise proposed that European Development, Regional Development Fund can use up to 5% for gas, but this is in the compromise. Is not. We don't know how the Council, the Parliament, and the Commission will move. Everybody is discussing about hydrogen. We didn't see exactly the research mechanism and transfer mainly to the large companies with the use of hydrogen that we know is not commercially available, but probably is the next step for especially for the gas producer if we want to respect the climate targets. So this is the environment. On top of that, we have Green Deal that puts somehow everything under the same construction. And I want to remind everybody that a project, either be it CHP, cogeneration, either be it combined cycle, it takes at least 2 years to be properly prepared. Everybody is looking for projects. We know that we have a deficit of electricity in Romania, so we have to provide this for the security of our chains. Yet we don't know how to move these projects in order to make sure that we are respecting the agreements that at European level everybody has. This is why for us as a company at this moment, it's a tricky time. We want to be adaptable to each possibility that that will be given to us based on the legislation. We are following closely whatever is happening in Brussels, maybe closer than ever, because this would affect our interventions. But what we are ready to do is to invest. We are a solid company. We want to consolidate our core business, let's say, the gas production, and to put at a good use this product that we have, and it's unique. And as already mentioned, is the only solution available at this moment for power generation in the economy. So we are looking for the production of electricity using our product and using the best available technologies that I might say that at this moment, maybe with some support on the hydrogen side, can it be as good as the taxonomy requirements are now drafted. So I think that we can even contribute to the climate neutrality that we all seek for. We are also looking for the renewables, because for us it would be a very good business case to combine the two sources and to use the gas as equilibration for when the renewables cannot come. So we are not staying and waiting. We are preparing those projects, but what we are requesting all the time is technological neutrality. And I think that also the papers that we are putting forward right now, also together with the organization that we are a part of, like the National Federation for Oil and Gas, Concordia, etc., is that we embrace those objectives, but let's respect the technological neutrality. Let's not put gas out of the transition, because I think that it's the moment where we should be all honest and realize that, yes, we have ambitious target, but this cannot be done in the next 10 years, and this cannot be done without a transition fuel, which is gas. And let's be a little bit more predictable, because we have long-term projects, and if the scenarios and the legislation is constantly changing, for this is not an investment environment that we would want. So these are our plans, and we are following closely. Hopefully also the Parliament and the Commission and the Council in the trilogue on the Green Deal, on the cohesion policy, and on the budget, because it's extremely important how the budget of the European Union will look in the next 7 years, will move as fast as possible and in a transparent way, so at least we know what will happen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, Mrs. Toader. We have 3 questions, I think, addressed to you. But first of all, I will open the floor for our guests. If any one of you are visible now for our friends watching us, if you have any question for Mrs. Toader, please. Mr. Korteweg, Mrs. Frunza, Mr. Adjili. If not, I will start with one of the questions sent by those that are watching us. Please, Mrs. Toader, tell us a few words about the plans Romgaz has in the renewable area you mentioned earlier.
At this moment, we have in full deployment and opportunity study to identify locations based on our requirements and types of energy sources that can be used. Mainly, we are looking to have greenfield renewables infrastructure near our. We would prefer it to have near our combined cycled power plants in order to make this mix together. We have this opportunity study in full operation. Probably by the end of this year, we will for sure we will have the results, and then. If also the financing mechanism will be available, we would like to have at least 100 megawatts installed in the next 2 to 3 years. But mainly it's near our combined cycle power plants, or where we have our pipelines in order to make sure that we can make this mix together.
Thank you. Another question for you is related with the modernization fund you also mentioned earlier. Now, not enough clarity at the moment from Brussels yet, but still in Romania there are renewed calls for the companies to send their projects. Tell us a few words about the projects that Romgaz already sent, how it's going to send until the end of the year.
We have already sent, and I think it's not a secret because it's also in our national plan for climate change and energy efficiency. And in the strategy, it's the power plant, the combined cycle power plant in Mintea, where the coal has to be replaced. And there is not another solution. It's a project that we have been working for the last 2 years. We have the feasibility study already approved. So it's ready to start, and it's the investment that follows at least the rules that we've seen in the delegated act proposed by the Commission. Of course, for the renewables also we want to move forward, but at this moment it's they are in an early stage of development, and for the modernization fund, as the regulation states, they will only accept mature projects with the state aid assessment done and everything else. So here probably since under the Modernization Fund, we will have yearly submission by the 30th of November of each year. Probably this will be put forward for next year. If we won't find other financing opportunities under the cohesion policy and the operational program that now the Ministry of European Fund is building. So these two will be main businesses for us.
Thank you. And a final question for you, Mrs. Toader, is related with, in part with the project at Iernut and in part with the future project you mentioned earlier. The question is, does Romgaz intend to change the procedure of selecting the partners in building the new capacities in order to avoid any delays or problems that previously occurred?
We are not, as I said earlier in my presentation, I think that everybody has learned during these past 8 months that maybe the biggest asset of a company is adaptability. And now, since this uncertainty in the oil and gas market due to the price that it's falling and rising, you don't know how, when the economic impact of COVID, I think that we should have a mix of implementation methods that would assure, on one hand, our main responsibility, because we are our main stakeholder is the Romanian state, so we have to provide the energetic security of Romania. We should be recognizing our role in that, because we are a state-owned company and we have a responsibility towards the resources of Romania. But on the other hand, we shouldn't be putting all the eggs in one basket. So keep some cash for our main business, let's say, which is production. So without giving you too many details, because I cannot at this moment, we are looking at a mix of types of investment, let's say, where for sure we will invest probably on our own, would be where we will have support from non-reimbursable, and this is Modernization Fund, it's this renewables and everything else, because there we don't need cash injection. For other that may be a little bit more riskier, but also can trigger high profits, we are looking at different ways of partnership and collaborations. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the details, all that you could share with us at the moment. Thank you very much. And I will pass the microphone now to another one of our guests, to Mr. Florin Frunza, CEO of Met Romania Energy. For now, we have a representative for a supply company. After we had a large producer company, now a supply company, and immediately after a technology provider. So, Mr. Frunza, our request to you is the same. How do you position in this context of energy transition, with all the pressures that seems to be burdening the oil and gas, the gas industry? Are there mostly opportunities? Are there challenges? How do you cope with them? Please.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity for speaking today in front of your audience. As you know, I recently joined Met Romania, Met Group, at the beginning of September. So I'm very new in my role here. However, I have quite some experience in the energy sector in Romania. So I would like to begin by saying a few words about our company, and then I will also address the question of this context of change in the energy sector. So first of all, our group, Met Group, is an energy company, an European energy company, which has one of the fastest growth written in the last years in Europe, and has quite a significant size now. We are among the first 50 Swiss companies according to the turnover, and we pride ourselves as being a flexible company with a quick decision process, which allow us to go after the opportunities in the market. We manage a substantial portfolio of gas and energy in Europe. I would just mention that in 2019, our group traded about 50 billion cubic meter of gas, which, if you compare to the total gas consumption of Europe in 2019, which was 428 BCM, so that's about 10% of the gas consumption in Europe. In Romania, we are here one of the most important suppliers of energy, so power and natural gas. We continue to grow here. I believe you know we successfully integrated two other energy supply companies, Repower and RWE, in the last years. And we offer a wide array of services. Of course, we supply gas and power as well. But at the same time, we are able to offer balancing services for power producers. We currently integrate more than 30 renewable producers in our portfolio. And we also are able to offer services of energy monitoring and managing of the energy consumption. We do have a significant part of our portfolio of customers managed in real time. We are also, of course, we are also active on the renewable energy market. We are certified as a supplier who could offer to their customers 100% renewable energy. So we very much believe that renewable energy will grow in importance in the next years. And the customers are asking for it. So we as a supplier, we have to be ready to supply. But at the same time, I personally believe that gas will continue to play a significant role for this decade and also for the next decade as well, because I very much believe in the versatility of natural gas. It still has an essential role in production of electricity and heat. And also, I would mention that the chemical industry, as we know it, cannot do without natural gas. And another important role, which I see, in fact, growing, is transport. Gas, I see it as an alternative fuel with low carbon. So if we go and look at Romania, because we're active here in this market, I think in Romania I see some opportunities still for gas. As I'll give you some examples, like for example, most of the buildings have a low degree of energy efficiency, so they're responsible for quite a large part of the greenhouse gas emissions. And the solution with gas for centralized district heating could be envisaged in the next period. There are some, I think, successful examples in the municipality of Cluj, for example, or Oradea in this sense. I mentioned transport, so I think Romania has offers a lot of opportunities in terms of growth for CNG and LNG. We have the oldest passenger car park in the EU 27 countries, and in terms of commercial vehicles, the light commercial vehicles and heavy transport is one of the oldest fleet as well. So I think LNG could be a viable fuel in terms of cost efficiency for all types of transport here. Also, you know about the Romania National Energy Strategy, which says that by 2030, the country is pushing down the production of coal-fired electricity generation. So the solution at hand is, for the time being, natural gas. Of course, renewables will play a more and more important role, but renewables alone cannot handle this transition from coal to other forms of energy. These are the few words I wanted to say to the audience.
Okay, thank you very much. There are already a few questions addressed to you. I will come back to them in a minute, in fact, in 10 minutes. Thank you very much. I will give the floor now to Mr. Shahrad Adjili, representing Kawasaki Gas Turbines Europe, for his presentation. And I will then come back to you with the questions that our friends in the audience send us. Please, Mr. Adjili.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello to everyone. Let me just start with the first to share my screen. I hope it will work. Just give me 1 second, because I have prepared a presentation. Just give me 1 second. This is the first time I'm actually using Zoom for presentation purposes. So I hope you can see this.
I only say a few words about yourself, Head of Sales, Kawasaki Gas Turbines Europe. And we are very happy to have you in this conversation for the perspective coming from a technology producer and vendor with a strong record and powerful portfolio. I'm very curious to find out more about how Kawasaki Gas Turbines position itself in this context in Europe, especially.
Gabriel, could you give me an idea how to share the screen? Because it's saying that Firefox is apparently denying the access to the presentation. Any idea?
The problem, you probably do not have the desktop software installed on your laptop.
Ah, okay.
And that would be mainly the problem. But if you can send me the presentation, I will try to prepare it from here, from myself. And
well, I could do so. I really apologize for this inconvenience, but apparently I wasn't aware about this. Just give me 1 second. It will take you 1 minute.
Okay, and once you send the presentation, I will have it prepared here in my laptop, and we will be able to present it to our audience.
Just 1 second, please.
In the meantime, I will say a few words about the audience at the moment, and I thank you very much, all of you who are with us now and are sending us comments and questions. We are doing this kind of conference in order to bring together the people and expertise from Romania to a larger audience in the western part of Europe. And this conference in Regional Approach Brussels is just one of the 3 conferences in this series that we prepare for the end of this year. In fact, in just a few weeks, we'll also have a similar conversation dedicated to the Republic of Moldova on the 19th of November, and then on the 24th of November in a conversation dedicated to Romania and Bulgaria. Both these events are already presented and ready on our website in energynomics.ro. You are welcome to register for the conferences in the next weeks. And also you can send us suggestions about what other countries or other cities you are interested in, so that we can prepare similar kind of conversation. For my part, for example, I'm interested very much in Helsinki these days. I just read about a very interesting contest there. The mayorship in Helsinki is running at the moment in order to move the city from using coal in district heating and probably move more to gas fired units in the near future. Mr. Adjili, if you have sent me the presentation, can you confirm?
Yes, I already did so.
Okay, please just start saying a few words, and then I will announce you when I have the presentation ready for the audience to see it.
Okay. Well, as a matter of fact, I know that most of the people associate with the name of Kawasaki the motorcycles, but as a company existing since more than 150 years, Kawasaki started the business as a ship manufacturer, and we are involved in the gas turbine and power plant business since, I would say, almost more than 50 years. And the purpose of my presentation today is actually to show you not only the typical usage of cogeneration, which our company is very much involved in, because our gas turbines and gas engines are specifically designed for the usage for applications of cogeneration, but also give you a picture of or a kind of image of what we are doing in the context of this energy transition, specifically when it comes to hydrogen applications in the future. Now, I hope Gabriel has received my presentation. I don't know if you...
No, unfortunately, no, I have not received your
Not yet.
email.
Maybe I should give it another try. I really apologize for this, but this is today a bit. Just give me 1 second. I give it another try. Today is again. Usually shouldn't take more than 1 minute, actually.
Yes, I don't know exactly if you used my address, but I will just send it once again using the chat box in Zoom to make sure that the address is correct.
Well, I just replied to your email, which you sent today in the morning. But the file size is also 24 megawatt. Maybe that's the reason why
that may be a problem.
That's the reason why it's taking this much.
Okay, I would suggest to move back to Mr. Frunza and address him some of the questions that our friends already have asked, and then move back to Mr. Adjili presentation.
Yes, please. Yes.
So please, Mr. Frunza, there is one question addressed to you. And this has something to do with the changes expected to happen in the energy market from now on. The question sounds something like, are you ready to move from more to electricity from power markets? How are those two segments present now in your portfolio at Met Romania Energy, gas versus power?
Oh, thank you for the question. In fact, we are already having a significant portion of our portfolio in power at this point. Yeah. So the group has more significant portfolio in gas, but in Romania we have a significant presence on the power supply market. we've been among top 5 power suppliers in Romania in the last years. So as far as Romania is concerned, yes, we are there in power. We supply power, as I said. We offer balancing services as well. We look at new business opportunities in the short future. If we will be able to become an aggregator for consumers or for producers, and at the same time, of course, given the capabilities of the group, we aim at increasing our gas portfolio as well.
Thank you very much. Another question also for you, Mr. Frunza, is related with projects like those mentioned earlier by Mrs. Toader from Romgaz. Is Met Romania Energy ready to partnership with other companies like Romgaz or another type of companies in order to contribute to new investments in gas units using generation units using gas? So are you ready to partnership in order to invest in new units?
Is Romgaz ready to invite us to a partnership? So we have not looked at investment in gas yet in Romania at partnerships, but of course, if an important partner like Romgaz is addressing us an invitation, then we'll have to take a serious look at it. The group is, for the time being, more focused on investing in renewables. Recently, there was a recent acquisition in Bulgaria of a 45 megawatt wind park. So for Romania, for the time being, we analyze opportunities, but it depends on a lot of factors. Of course, we here as a country, we compete with other countries in the group for funds. So it depends a lot on the attractivity of the opportunity.
Thank you very much for your answers. We come back to you. I will now move back to Mr. Adjili. Yes, we have the presentation, and I prepared for showing it to our audience. So please tell us in a few words what you prepared for us. I have this presentation with 23 pages. Starting with 2 specialists, no compromise. This is what our friends will see in a moment on the screen.
Well, as I mentioned already, the purpose of this presentation is not only to make you acquainted with the audience acquainted with with Kawasaki as a manufacturer of cogeneration plants, but also combined cycle power plants based on gas turbines. Of course, we also produce, as you may see very soon, the gas engines with very high efficiency, also created specifically for cogeneration applications. And again, our company is also very much active in the field of hydrogen. Kawasaki, as a matter of fact, is the first company in the world to produce the first carrier ship for liquid hydrogen. I will give you a bit of background on that, why it's that way, why Kawasaki is the first company to produce such ships. And once we see the presentation, I will try to rush through the presentation in order to make up a bit of the time we've lost.
If I may, Mr. Adjili, the presentation is already available for our people. It will not be available on Zoom for us to see.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
so I unfortunately cannot see it, but I guess you're on the first page. So
I will move on, and when you say so.
All right. You may see the agenda on the second page. I will, of course, as the head of sales, I feel a bit obliged to tell you a bit about our mother company and also the company which I'm working in, which is the Kawasaki Gas Turbine Europe. And then the next slides are going to be related to cogeneration or combined heat and power applications. I mean, Hans Korteweg has already mentioned a couple of words about this subject. Next time I will call him before I present in the same conference with him in order to prevent such incidents. However, and then we will have a very, very brief look on Kawasaki products and services, why we could be a partner in the future for energy transition. And what the last 2 or 3 slides are dedicated to the development of hydrogen solution, and specifically for gas turbines. And then I would propose to go to next slide, which is related to Kawasaki Heavy Industries. As a matter of fact, as I've already mentioned, Kawasaki Heavy Industries started their business 150 years ago with building the first steel ships in Japan. And then they expanded the business. Nowadays, we have, everybody knows the motorcycles, I know, but this company is divided in 7 different sectors, covering a lot of, let's say, technical solutions. There is no technical solution you may not find at Kawasaki. The only thing we don't sell are cars, as a matter of fact. However, our company, Kawasaki Gas Turbine Europe, belongs to the energy system and plant engineering. And you may go now to the next slide, which is dedicated to Kawasaki Gas Turbine Europe. Just a brief history of Kawasaki Gas Turbine Europe. We started the business in 1975 in Germany, and with sales and service of the 1 megawatt gas turbine at that time. Established in 1998, the Kawasaki Gas Turbine Europe. Ever since that time, we are taking care of the complete European continent, and also in the recent, let's say, 4 to 5 years, we have also to serve markets in North Africa and Middle East. So it is a pretty big area to serve with just, let's say, 10 people in the sales department. However, we are glad to do this job. Maybe you should go to the next slide, which is dedicated to cogeneration, combined heat and power applications. In very simple words, which also Hans has mentioned before, what cogeneration or combined heat and power means is, in simple words, whenever you use a type of primary energy like natural gas for simultaneously transform it into electricity and the heat, and once you use the heat, that's simply cogeneration. And the typical applications, which you may see on the next slide, are, it's a vast variety of industries are using already cogeneration, but apparently it's not enough of cogeneration installations all across the world. And we have typical applications of pulp and paper, medicines, cosmetics, refineries, chemistry, food and beverage, automotive and tires, and the most familiar to many of us are district heating applications, which are usually based on, most of the time, based on gas engines. And if you now go to the next slide, Hans has also shown some more recent slides when it comes to the electricity consumption and the energy mix in the European Union in the past years. Most of these diagrams or developments which are depicted in those diagrams are supposed to be more static, because the changes in the energy market are not going to be very quick. However, you may see that Romania, for example, is serving or the consumption of coal depicts a big amount of energy, and the gas, which is very shown in the mid of that bar, represents not really only maybe 10 to 15% of the total energy coverage. However, the Romanian market shows a certain, amongst the Eastern European countries, shows a very high potential to us. That's the reason why we also in 2018 established our Romanian office to serve the Romanian market directly with our the business development manager, Mr. Cristian Atanazovic, who is, I hope, also attending this meeting or as in the audience. However, going to the next slides, what is Kawasaki doing actually to provide the market, specifically the industry, with technical solutions? And if you take a look into the slide number 11, which is showing the product lineup of gas turbines, you may see that I don't want to bother you very much with the details, but one thing I would like to emphasize is that ever since we have created or produced, designed those gas turbines, Kawasaki is one of the leaders in providing the market with low emission combustion systems, and that's our, let's say, added value for the customer, but also one of our benefits in the advantages in the cogeneration market. And the next slide is dedicated to the engines. The purpose of these two slides is, I guess, Gabriel, you will most probably distribute these all of the presentations to the audience, so they may have also an overview of what we are doing. And I was very much interested in Ms. Toder's words mentioning that they are interested in installing in the next future 100 megawatt of CHP applications or combined cycle power applications. You may see on the next slide the out-of-the-drawer solution of Kawasaki for a typical 100 megawatt combined cycle power plant. And this is already under execution in Southeast Asia, which is very close to Japan, where our mother company is located. And we hope very soon to also execute this solution in the European market somewhere in the vicinity. However, we have on the next slide, you will also see that Kawasaki is providing the market also with gas engines, and we have already executed several projects in the 100 megawatts. Oh, sorry, there's a mistake on the slide I can see in the table, where there is mentioned that the total output of this plant is 6,650. That's not true. It's just 14 engines of 7.8 megawatts, and the total output of this power plant is 100 megawatts, 107 megawatts as a standby power plant.
Are you talking about the Jetsu Green Power project?
Right. Sorry,
okay.
I forgot to tell you to go to the next slide. However, on the next slide, number 15, you may see the hybrid solution of Kawasaki Heavy Industries for chemical industry. Since we are one of the only manufacturer actually the only manufacturer in the world to produce both gas turbines and the gas engines in the same factory, we can also provide very, let's say, high efficient hybrid solutions for the industry. And that's it to our products. I don't want to bother you very much. Let's go to the next slide and see what Kawasaki is actually doing in the context of the energy transition and what is the driver behind this. 11, everybody may remember, that was the year where Kawasaki, where Japan faced the catastrophe of Fukushima. And after that, the Japanese government decided to pave the new path for the hydrogen, or change the energy strategy for the Japanese island. And that's the reason why they thought the only sustainable way to secure the energy consumption in the future is to change to hydrogen. It's a bit questionable if the path that the Japanese government has now headed for is really environmentally friendly, because the idea is to convert lignite into hydrogen, and via carbon capturing and storage, store the CO2 or carbon, which is produced at the same time in the underground, and so the hydrogen will be liquefied and transported via carriers to Japan. That's the basic idea of the Japanese government. And at that time, in 2011, they started to ask companies for providing solutions. That's the reason why Kawasaki Heavy Industries, already involved in the business of hydrogen or carriers, was the first company to create that chip, and also the necessary technologies in the whole supply chain for production, storage, transportation, and finally usage of hydrogen. And that's the reason why maybe Japan and Japanese companies are a bit ahead of the European or other companies when it comes to hydrogen solutions. However, Kawasaki Heavy Industries has created the first hydrogen-based cogeneration plant in Kobe City, which is installed in this on the Kobe Island, which is an artificial island created 20 years ago. And now this is a kind of demonstration plant to show that hydrogen cogeneration, as a matter of fact, is working, and we are the first company in the world to operate this small plant, even if it's based on a small turbine of 2 megawatt size. And if you go to the next slide, where you may see the overview of this hydrogen power plant, serving not only the hospital and our different buildings, and it's a small district heating solution for that island. And the next slide will show you, slide number 19, will show you the different solutions on hydrogen combustion, because one of the most challenging things is to deal with this very dangerous and very dangerous gas. Hydrogen, everybody's talking about hydrogen, but dealing with hydrogen is not as easy as you may think. It's highly explosive. It's not easy to deal with in the combustion in gas turbines and also gas engines. That's the reason why it takes time to develop the according combustion systems we can also continuously operate. However, our strategic decision was to start the development of the very small gas turbine, because everybody knows that hydrogen is, as of now, pretty expensive to be used just for producing electricity. And this is the reason why we thought maybe we can use the smallest turbines, because also the available amounts are not really big. So the smallest turbine, which is of 1.8 megawatts, has now 3 different combustion systems are developed. The number 1, which is the dry low emission combustor, uses up to 60 volume% of hydrogen. The second one which is already installed in this Kobe plant, is using 100% of hydrogen. So you can blend the natural gas and hydrogen in a very good ratio. And the third one, which is a dry combustor for hydrogen, has been developed, is on the final tests are ongoing, and we hope to apply it in the first real project, which is going to be hopefully in Europe within the next 1.5 to 2 years. And the next slide, number 20, is showing you the application in Kobe, how it really looks like. You may see the gas turbine generator set, which is prepared for using the hydrogen. And one should also mention that these generator sets have a lot of security requirements, technical solutions for the security, because hydrogen is highly explosive and not easy to deal with. The next slide will show you the a screenshot of the user interface, where you can see that if you operate a small turbine, like a 2 megawatt turbine on 100% hydrogen, you will see that you need almost more than 2,000 norm cubic meters of hydrogen per hour. That's shown in the, there is written hydrogen H2 gas, and you can see 2,215 norm cubic meters per hour is the consumption of this gas turbine. In order to provide gas turbines with this amount of hydrogen, you will need to, not only the green hydrogen, but also producing hydrogen with, for example, how's it called, the electrolyzers. You will need very big electrolyzers. So the usage of hydrogen in gas turbines can only be, for the next, at least in the midterm or long-term view, can only be as a mixture with natural gas. And that's the reason why we have produced this gas turbine to do so. And last but not least, this is my last slide, just to give you a kind of outlook in the future, what a cogeneration plant should look like, which is more to be innovative. You have to integrate the renewables and the fossil gas fuel to create a I would say a transitory form of cogeneration plant, which will also be realized via sector coupling, which means you will use photovoltaic, wind, and natural gas to cover the needs of the industry, most probably. I would like to close at this point, because I know I've taken a bit too much, but I'm ready to take the questions of the audience.
No
Thank you
problem.
very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adjili. We managed to present our friends the slides you prepared, and also the information in order to better understand those images. I will just come back to the 22-page slide in order to address one of the questions already addressed to you. Where is Kawasaki placed in this scheme when there's wind farms, solar panels, etc., etc.?
Well, we are not very much into renewables, but we will, of course, provide the gas turbine. We are creating, we are developing the batteries for storage, because, as a matter of fact, there are already so many different companies in this world providing solar panels and wind turbines, so that Kawasaki wouldn't be an additional benefit to the market. That's the reason why we are developing the so-called Giga Cell, which is a battery storage system for the ideally renewable energies, but the batteries don't care where the electricity comes from. However, we are also developing the electrolyzers, and that's where we are going to be in the future. The rest of these, let's say, innovative power plant will be provided by other solution providers.
Thank you. Another question for you. You said about the possibility that some installation based on hydrogen be installed in Europe in the next 2 years, maybe. The question is, how expensive is such a solution in terms of megawatt installed?
Well, I mean, this is a very good question. As a matter of fact, we do believe that an integrated plant, as it's shown here in this picture, is at least the first installations are going to be just for demonstration purposes. So you cannot expect to have a, let's say, return on an investment. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry for my voice seems to be disappearing this moment. I have also another question for you. If you can tell us a few words about the difference in different approaches in different parts of Europe, you being responsible or for the whole Europe, how are these solutions you have received in the western part of Europe and in the eastern part, which are the main challenges, let's say?
You mean in regards to hydrogen, or
no? The solutions already.
The cogeneration
yes,
system?
yes.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, you know, Kawasaki started the business in Germany, which is the country in the, let's say, economically and from industrial density point of view, the strongest country in Europe. But the German government, as a matter of fact, succeeded to kill the cogeneration business in Germany. And because that goes now into a more political direction, because the Green Party started to create the idea that you can serve the electricity market or the industry solely by using the renewables. And I mean, nobody would mention that the industry is more depending on heat than electricity. And that's maybe the biggest mistake which the German government made in the past years to try to, let's say, push the whole discussion or discourse towards just the electricity. However, we have changed our business very much. We don't have any business in Germany. We are now operating abroad. And the development we are seeing, at least, is that the hydrogen business will start in Germany. And since it's at least at the current state, it's a very expensive technology, it will, at least in the long term, will penetrate other markets, starting from west to east. And yeah, I think the Western European countries are going to be the first countries to integrate hydrogen, and yeah, that's what's going to happen, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adjili, for your information and insights. As you already saw, ladies and gentlemen, we moved away from our agenda in the sense that we had the Q&A session distributed throughout the day, and I will just move now to our guest speaker, Alain Schodts, Executive Director with Belgian, Luxembourg, Romanian, Moldovan Chamber of Commerce, for a few words. Thank you very much, Mr. Schodts, for being with us and helping us in organizing this event. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Can you share the presentation, please?
Yes.
If possible. Thank you. So, my name is Alain Schodts, Executive Director of the Bilateral Chamber of Commerce, Belgium, Luxembourg, Romania, and Moldova. We are a chamber with around 150 members. We are waiting for the presentation.
The presentation is already available to our audience. You will not see it, however.
Okay. I don't see it. Okay, I didn't know this. So there are some, you can bit by bit, but then I have to see that I can, because I need to know about what I'm talking. Just a moment.
I will change the slides as you asked me.
Yeah. Just a moment. As the PowerPoint is opening here, the only thing that I can say, I'm living already 13 years in Romania. Close to Bucharest I'm living. I understand quite a lot in your Romanian language. But speaking, that's a big issue, but I understand. About the chamber, as you see on the slide of the structure, on the second slide, is that you see there all the list of the founding members. You see also who is in the board of directors. We have also an advisory board where the Belgian embassy is in, the Flanders Investment and Trade, and on the AWEX, which is the Walloon Economical Attaché here in Bucharest. Then if we go to the third slide, it's a little bit promotion, and I think there you find quite general information what we are doing. We are a Chamber of Commerce, so in fact the goals and the objectives are a little bit the same like in another bilateral chamber. You can go switch over to the fourth slide and also to the fifth slide. If people wants to have the presentation, I don't know if you can share presentation afterwards. So that
yes, we'll make it available in a follow-up article.
Okay. Especially in the last years, because we exist now 6 years here in Romania, is that okay, except the traditional network events that we organize, we try also do the development of services. And if you go on the sixth slide, you will see that there is a whole list of services that we are offering. It goes from an incorporation of a company in Romania, which is a big burden, legal advisory, tax compliance services, accounting, HR, finance, you know, the normal services, but we are trying to develop this very much in the last years. Then a little bit about the milestones of the association and the Chamber of Commerce. We started in 2013 as Belgian-Romanian Business Association. We got the accreditation to become a bilateral chamber in 2017, September 2017. We are now in the final process to get also the accreditation of the Romanian Chamber of Commerce. Then last year we also incorporated the country Moldova. The reason why is very simple. Our Belgian ambassador is responsible for Romania and Moldova. And for us, it was a natural step to also include this also. And then why Luxembourg? Is that all Belgian chambers from the Federation in Belgium are Belgium, Luxembourg, Spanish chamber, French chamber. They are all have always the name of Luxembourg. This was the situation of our chamber. Last month we had 174 members. We are also part of Coaliția pentru Dezvoltare România. We are represented in 8 of the 15 task forces where we have a direct connection with the Romanian government. We are a part of this Belgian chambers abroad. That's our main organization. These are our contact details. And in slide number 12, I would like to talk a little bit about, in fact, this webinar. Gabriel, I don't hear you.
I am here and I followed you with the slides throughout.
Okay, yes. Thank you. So I'm absolutely not an expert in energy, absolutely not. But I did a little bit research on websites and information that I gather. Is that no, it's slide number 11. Sorry, I was a little bit too quick. So there are 3 steps that I want to say in my presentation is that you have European level, Belgian level, and Romanian level. So I think everyone is aware about the document that that there was a communication from the European Commission about powering a climate neutral economy, European Green Deal, that puts the European Union on a path of the climate neutrality by 2050. The key actions and an action plan to accelerate the clean energy transition through energy system integration. It's a whole document that probably the most of the hosts today are aware of. If not, we can always share this, but it's on European level, it's an action plan that by 2050, we should have implemented the Green Deal. If it will be like that, we have to see and wait. Then, if you then compare the 2 countries, Belgium and Romania, I think Belgium, I don't say that it's the best student in the class on energy, green energy, but they try to do their best. And one initiative is an article that you can find the link there about the Vrije Universiteit Brussels, is the Flemish University of Brussels, is an idea of smart villages that they want to implement in some villages in Flanders. These articles can be, you have the link, you can watch it. What is also very important that with this Green Deal, there will be, for example, already an impact in the real estate sector. And therefore, again, I found an article about the future of the tariffs of the distribution networks. What I mean by that, there will be a total change of, for example, we will not drive anymore with diesel cars or with normal engine, but we go to electric cars. So also these companies have to make the transition in their tarification to this. For the moment, all these electric cars, they are quite expensive. So there should be also transition. And then the last point that I would like to say is that Romania is also going in that direction. And I hope I will not upset the audience, but with a delay, let's say more or less of 5 years. But anyway, there are already some initiatives. What I found for the guide for the small energy suppliers to produce production of energy at home. And there is also a link, and I found interesting project that I tried to develop. So me as a, let's say, not an expert in this domain, I see that there are, in fact, good instructions coming out of the European Commissions to implement the Green Deal by 2050. And then if you compare the 2 countries, they're on the right way, some maybe with a delay, but we need to try to achieve that agreement that, in fact, all the European countries made for 2015. But anyway, Gabriel, thank you for the invitation today. I think was a great initiative and hope to speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, Mr. Schodts, for your contribution to this event being organized. And we are also see this event as a starting point for a in-person meeting in Brussels when the conditions will allow us for this. And I also welcome your openness for being of support in making those companies in both countries to meet and cooperate. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now give the floor for the final word to my colleague Varinia Radu, founding partner and CEO of Energynomics. Hello, Varinia. Good to have you here on the last minutes of our conference. dedicated to energy transition, Brussels and Bucharest. How do you see it? What are your thoughts about it?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Gabriel. Thank you for allowing me to say a few comments at the end of this event. We are excited as the organizers to have this first event in Brussels, although or Brussels centric, let's say, although online at this moment. Clearly, the topic of the day is transition. And this is both complex and complicated. The energy transition means a lot of things, but I think we all agree that from the old paradigm where all the energy subsectors were sort of functioning separately, now we need all of the streams, the gas, renewables, heat, industry, transportation to work together in an integrated way that will also allow for the new technologies to stream in. Now, of course, the policy is very ambitious, especially the Green Deal. And so this is a driver for the economy, for the actors in the market to make all of the efforts to be adaptable and move towards this transition in the best way possible. However, the
Bonjour
transition...
Stéphanie. Bonjour Stéphanie. Je m'excuse.
And I think...
It's okay, we can hear you,
yeah,
please.
okay. And I think the event today showcased very clearly from the largest gas producer in Romania, from one of the largest traders, from COGEN Europe, from technology provider, that we need for this transition, we need gas as one of the most important transition fuels, and we need investments in this type of new capacities based on gas. This means high upfront investments, large investments that typically need complex financing arrangements, that typically need joint ventures, partnerships, collaborations with other companies from abroad, which will allow all of these to come together. As it was said, we've seen already Romgaz looking into both balancing capacities as well as investing in renewables, which is a great way of looking at the transition. But in any case, it is clearly very important that the policymakers discuss with the stakeholders and the industry so that the transition efforts are making sense and they are economical for the main actors in the industry, which are pushing towards the transition and decarbonization. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to the next debates that we will have in various other neighboring countries. Back to you, Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Varinia. I would normally prepare for a short comment from myself in concluding the conversation, but obviously my voice is not helping me today. And at the same time, we have a question for Mr. Frunza. I see that he's still with us, and I thank you for this, Mr. Frunza. This is the question, the final one, before we close this conversation. How do you see the new balancing mechanism, and how easy this would be for your company, is the question one of our friends addressed to you.
Thank you for the question. I think this new balancing mechanism will obviously pose some challenges to the market participants, to the suppliers, and to the renewable producers in special, who will quickly have to adapt to the new reality. Now, how prepared is everyone? I think, yeah, everyone should judge for himself. In terms of us here at Romania, I believe that we are prepared. We have a very experienced power team here, people with many years of experience, and we saw this change coming. So yes, we still have to see what the impact will be, but in terms of readiness, I believe we're ready.
Thank you very much, and I thank you at this moment to all our guests today. It was a very informative conversation, and we are very happy to be able to organize it for our friends in the virtual space. Around 60 people were all the time present and watching us today. The recording of this conversation will remain available in YouTube, in our social media pages, Energynomics, and also there will be a follow-up article in a few days from now. In this article, you will also be able to download the presentations that our guests had today. So thank you very much for all the speakers, all the partners, and all the people taking part in this event. I welcome you for the next conference in the Regional Approach Series in Chisinau, November 19, and in Sofia, November 29. Thank you very much. See you soon.